Hey there everyone, I am Chris, this is Simply Classic, and today we're going to do an add-on for the Rosanne. Now the Rosanne is a pattern that I did a long time ago. It's considered a cutting chart pattern, and what that means is there are no written instructions for this bag yet. We will get around to it. But for right now, when you order it from the website, it's only like $4.50 or $5 or something like that. And you will get a cutting chart and pattern pieces only. And then from there you watch the video to learn how to make the bag. So it's really an affordable option if somebody wants to do something a little bit different and not have a written pattern, or maybe you don't need a written pattern. Some people prefer videos. But the original Rosanne is this bag here. And the way it closes is you have a flap with a magnetic snap, and then in addition you have two magnetic snaps at the top that hold the bag closed. Now this was inspired by a Brahmin bag, and this is how Brahmin made it, which is why I did it this way. And somebody asked about a zipper, putting a zipper at the top instead of these magnetic snaps. And it's a little tricky because the bag is wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So when you put a zipper in, you have to look at the fact that you don't want it super wide. You can't use this bottom measurement to figure out the width of the zipper. And then also the bag kind of comes out a little, it's not straight up and down, it flares out a little bit. So because of that, the width of it is a little bit different as well. So I have prepared a bag that we're going to put a zipper in, and I've gotten it as far as the lining pieces are done, and then I have the exterior completed as well. And from here we are about to the point on the lining where we want to add the zipper placket, and then we'll put the upper lining on and then finish up the bag. So I did this one in the emerald green leather, and then this leather piece here is the lizard leather. It sews up beautifully. As you can see, it's going to be a really pretty bag, and you can see the texture on this leather here. So the handles are going to be in this black, the flap is in the black, and then of course we have this accent in the black, and everything else is the green emerald. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you the measurements on the zipper placket, and we're going to just go ahead and get that set in. Okay, so just to recap, I have the main exterior part of the bag done. I have my zipper pocket part done. I also have my slip pocket part done. So we're to the point where we would attach the upper lining, but before we do that, we want to put the zipper in. The upper lining is shaped so that the sides are deeper than the top. It has that dip in there because that's where the flap goes. So the zipper is going to go in between the lining and the upper lining like normal, but it's going to be a little deeper than normal. So what we're going to do is when we sew the zipper placket onto the bag, we're actually going to sew it with the zipper placket part going up. We're going to top stitch it up, because that way you're not going to have to dig down so deep for your zipper. Okay, so you'll see how we do this. I'm going to set these aside for just a second, and also my upper linings. I'll go ahead and set those aside. And so far, everything I did in the bag, as far as the way I cut it, is exactly like the cutting chart says. I cut 2 pieces of my leather and 2 pieces of my lining. They are 2 inches tall. Okay, so the width is 15.5. So I put some woven interfacing on the back of the lining, and there's nothing on the back of the leather. Okay, 15.5 by 2. So we're going to start out by folding the edges in, just like we would do a normal zipper placket. And we're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance to do that, roughly. Let me go ahead and I say roughly because after we fold the first one, everything is kind of dependent on that. So let me get some double-sided tape on here. And I am using 1/2 inch double-sided tape for this part. And I'm also going to put it on the other side as well. All right, and then we're just going to cut these apart. And we're going to start out with one of our lining pieces and one of our main leather pieces. So I'm going to set a couple of these aside for just a minute. And we want to peel the backing off the tape on both sides of the leather piece. We're going to fold this over a 1/2 inch. And if you want to measure that, you certainly can. So now, once we have this piece, everything we do is going to be based off this piece right here. So I'm going to fold back only one side of my lining. I'm going to go with roughly a 1/2 inch. And then when we sew the zipper on, we'll fold the other side in. So on your zipper, you're going to want to cut your zipper roughly about 20 inches, and then you can cut the tail off afterwards. So it's going to give you some extra zipper there. You're going to pull the teeth apart, and then even with each other, and you can mark this with a pen, but you're going to pinch the zipper tape down and then fold it up so it is at a right angle with the teeth. And just go ahead and put a pin to hold that down. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. And the main thing you want to make sure of here is that the zipper teeth are exactly the same height. So let me make sure mine are. Okay, just like that. So now you can see going across here, they're the same height. And with the zipper tails in the back, we're just going to baste that together. Now on this bag, I changed my thread color as I went through and sewed. So whenever I was sewing on the black leather, I used black thread, and then when I was sewing on the green leather, I used green thread. And as you can see, I still have green thread in, so you're going to be able to see how I tack this really good against this black zipper. Okay, and then you can see there those basting stitches. There, it's in the seam allowance, and it's just to hold the teeth down. Now you could certainly do this by hand if you prefer. You do not have to use your machine. But that just kind of helps keep those teeth in place. So the next thing we're going to do is use some 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape. And the double-sided tape really helps hold the zipper down so that it doesn't shift while you sew. It's like it'll be about the right length. So I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape and I'm going to put it on one side of the leather. And then I'm going to put it on one side of the lining. And since this side over here is not folded over yet, I still just have the raw edge. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge with the tape. All right, so now let's peel the backing off of the tape. And we are going to lay our zipper teeth about 1/4 of an inch down from one fold, and we're going to line up the edge of the zipper with the edge of the leather. Let me get this so I can see it. You want to make sure everything is lined up really well. Do not pull your zipper, you're just laying your zipper down on this piece of leather. So you can see here that is roughly 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. I'm going to go ahead and just cut that little piece of double-sided tape off. So from here, we are going to peel the backing off of the lining tape. And the edge that is already folded, we're going to put down first. We're going to put it against the wrong side of the zipper so that zipper is sandwiched in between. And we're just going to make sure that we match up these folded edges exactly. We're going to continue down, and then when we get to the other side, we're going to fold the lining so that it exactly matches the same length as the leather. Okay, so now we have a perfect match. So from the wrong side, meaning I can see the wrong side of the zipper and I'm sewing on the lining, I'm going to stitch using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, before I turn this, I'm going to cut my teeth off, the extra teeth here. And you can use a lighter to go ahead and just burn the edge of that zipper. And now you want to flip your two pieces. So this is going to be your leather and your lining, and you're going to flip them so they are wrong sides together. And go ahead and clip. I'm going to go all the way down to the other side. So from here, we are going to top stitch the short edge closed. We're going to top stitch along the zipper teeth, top stitch this short edge closed, and then we're just going to go down and baste the long edge. As I'm stitching, I'm pulling the zipper tape and the leather and lining away from each other so that this seam is nice and flat. Now, right here at the edge where the zipper teeth are coming into the zipper, A lot of times I will take a couple of hand stitches just because I want to make sure. You can see here my foot is up in the air, and you can go ahead and make yourself a little hump jumper, or you can do some hand stitches just to make sure that you don't mess up your project. You don't want that foot to drag and it to drag against your leather. So I'm going to do that. Just make sure this is all going to come out nicely. Okay, and then we'll baste this close. Okay, then we have one side of that zipper placket done. So to do the other side, we're going to take our other piece of leather and our other piece of lining. We're going to fold over one edge, one short edge of each, roughly a ½ inch. Okay, we're going to turn them over and put some 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape along one edge. We are going to start with the edge that's folded, and we're going to go ahead and lay it on top of the other side of the zipper. And when we do, we want to make sure we're matching up the already folded edges with this folded edge here. So that's the most important thing. I want to make sure that's matched up first, and then I will go ahead and lay the teeth down. And once again, the teeth should be about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. And then we're going to lay the rest of the zipper down without pulling it. You don't want to pull the zipper, and you don't want to pull on the leather. Okay. So do the same thing with the lining. I'm going to match this edge up. And then on the other side, we want to go ahead and fold the leather and the lining so that it matches the piece we already sewed onto the zipper. And it doesn't matter how far it is. If you have to fold it over 1/4 of an inch, you fold it over 1/4 of an inch. If it's 3/4 of an inch, that's fine too. That does not matter. What matters is that these edges here are even. Okay, so now with all of the edges even, once again, we're going to sew from the wrong side or the lining side 1/4 of an inch. Go ahead and trim your teeth off. And then we're going to fold these so they are wrong sides together. And then we're going to do the same thing to top stitch it closed and baste the long edge. I'm going to be careful again with my foot here because it could drag. I do have a key fob that I'm going to slip underneath here. Okay, so now from here we're going to get our upper lining pieces and we're going to go ahead and clip those on. Since I'm putting a zipper, I did not put any markings for snaps, so I'm not going to add those. Okay, so now we're going to stitch these on using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. From here, you're going to pick up your upper lining and you're also going to pick up your zipper placket. So you're going to have your seam allowance going down towards your bottom lining. And from here, we're going to top stitch on the lining piece. So I'm going to repeat and do exactly the same thing for the other side. Okay, now that I have both on, I'm going to go ahead and just clip my zipper out of the way so I don't accidentally sew it, because we're going to sew the side seams. So go ahead and match them up. Okay, and we're going to stitch. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance to start, and I am going to go, the lining is shorter or narrower, but I am going to be generous on my 1/2 inch when I get down to the lining part. We're going to finish the bag as normal. So we're going to take the main part of the bag. We will put it inside the lining. Now your teeth are going to be really close to your upper lining, okay, because we top stitched it up. So you want to make sure that you actually push these down as you stitch. So see, there's my teeth and my zipper. Make sure you push those down. And the lining has side seams, but the main part of the bag has a actual side piece. So you can go ahead and find the center of that to match to your side seam. And of course, open up your seam allowances. So I'm going to go through and clip all of this, and then we will stitch everything together. Okay, I'm here at the cylinder arm machine. We're going to stitch this bag together. Don't forget to put your handles in too. I have to go ahead and baste those on. So it doesn't really matter where you start. I'm going to start by one of these handles. And you're going to stitch this top with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And the reason why we're using 1/4 inch is because of the curves. All right, looks like my bag slipped underneath a little bit. Let me go ahead and fix that before I get too far. So basically what's happened here is, you see this top here slip down. And this bag, since the lining is smaller, which of course you always want your lining to be smaller, but the lining is, and also because of the shape of the bag, you know, the bottom is so much wider than the top, this might happen. You might have this situation. So just kind of be aware of what's going on. And if you find that it's starting to slip, stop and go ahead and fix it before you get too far. And since I'm going to be pulling this back piece up, I'm not worried about getting back in those same holes in the back, basically on this back piece, because I'm definitely going to be beyond them. But on the front, I want to make sure I get back in the same holes. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and make some clips in the curves, because we want to make sure that where these, even though they're slight curves, we want to make sure that the fabric has enough place, the leather has enough place to turn. So I'm going to make my little clips. I'm going to pull the bag right side out and top stitch, finish it up just like we do the regular Rosanne, and then we'll take a look. Okay, here it is, the completed Rosanne with a zipper top. So you can see that the exterior of the bag does not look any different. And looking at this, I'm realizing we have Christmas here, red and green. I'm never going to be able to unsee that. But anyway, the bags, the exterior, even with that zipper, doesn't look that much different. And the reason why is the way we sewed the zipper in. It still cinched this together so that you were able to flip this flap closed. So when you open the flap up, you see here, you've got that zipper that holds everything nice and secure. And since it's facing up, we top stitch it up. You're not having to reach way down in there to open up the bag. And then of course, when you open it up, you've got everything just as normal. Until next time, everybody, happy sewing.